So I'm talking through today toxic positivity and neuro-linguistic programming. And the reason why I decided to talk about this morning, Abigail, is because I've had so many questions about toxic positivity recently and about appearing emotionless, like when you've got stuff going on and, when things might be tough or just stuff might be going on. Toxic positivity is the notion of either not really acknowledging it for what it is. So if it's a negative situation, not really acknowledging that it's a negative situation and trying to brush over it. I do a lot of work with the media and with magazines and places like that. And this is something that I've been asked to comment on a lot in the last week. And so I thought it'd be really helpful for you guys because it seems like there's a lot of education online going on around it at the moment. And so I wanted to share it with you lot as well. So toxic positivity is the notion that when we feel down or there's something going wrong or something might not be working out the way we want it to, just kind of brushing over it and not acknowledging it properly for what it is. So let's say, for example, you feel disappointed about something and you want to express that, and you try to speak to somebody about it, but somebody says to you, oh, it's all right, it'll all be okay, like things will work out for the best. And it's not that they're it's only ever coming from a place of love. Like, people only say things like that to you because they love you, and it's coming from a place of love. Like, even if it's, an acquaintance or a co-worker at work, like, that it's only really coming from a place of trying to help you, trying to support you. But really, actually, morning Savina, really actually it's not helping anybody in that situation, because what it's doing is it's brushing over situations where you're not honouring and acknowledging how human you are and how you feel. And it's especially harmful when we do it with children. And I find myself so often having to catch myself, morning Linda, having to catch myself when I'm having conversations with my children. So my children at the moment are 3 and 6. When they're getting upset about something, I've found times where I've gone to say, oh, there's no need to cry, or you don't need to be upset. And I'm only saying it because I love them and I don't want them to be upset. But what I'm really doing is I'm teaching them that it's not okay to be upset and that we shouldn't acknowledge when we feel the way we feel. And, it's crazy because especially in the entrepreneurial world, people who have businesses and work for themselves, I mean, it goes for everybody, but especially people who have businesses and work for themselves, there's this kind of illusion that we have to be positive, and we have to be positive, but we have to also, just keep moving and just keep going and always, see what's going to come and see what's going to happen. Let me know if this resonates with you and if this makes any sense. Just give me a wave, give me a hi, let me, share with me your experience of this if you've experienced it too. And also let me know if you've heard about toxic positivity before, or if this is something that's a new concept to you. So in the entrepreneurial world, there's this notion of, tell yourself positive affirmations. When you wake up in the morning, say positive things to yourself. And yes, there is definitely a time and place for us to do this. However, what happens is we also tend to kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, when we misunderstand, that's the word I'm looking for. When we misunderstand the time and place to do this. So a really silly example, but this is a relevant example. A couple of months ago, I went to Scotland on holiday, and I booked us a hot tub holiday, and I was so excited. I was telling my kids about it, and I was getting them really excited about it, because I was like, well, it doesn't matter if everything's closed down. It doesn't matter if they've not opened the swimming pool yet, or if we can't get in because it's fully booked, because we've got a hot tub, so it's okay. And I got them really excited about it, and I was really excited about it. I'd never been on a hot tub holiday before. so I was so excited. I got there and I realized that I'd not booked the hot tub holiday. I'd not realized that when I'd filtered the caravan to allow pets, it had taken the hot tub off, and there was no hot tub. And I was so disappointed. And there was half of me that was like, oh, it's okay, everything will be fine. And then I recognized that actually I just needed to feel the way that I felt and the disappointment that I felt for not booking the hot tub because I was genuinely disappointed. And by honouring the way that I was feeling, morning Georgina, by honouring the way that I was feeling and allowing myself to be human and sit with that for, it was about 6 hours. And allow myself to move through that emotion of disappointment, and I was upset. I think I actually cried, like I was really upset. And the thing is as well, like I said to Neil, my husband, I was like, I can't believe it. Like, and he probably could see tears in my eyes because I was so upset. And he went, oh, it's all right, babe. You know, you teach people about this stuff. You teach people about how to be positive. And I just wanted to poke him in the eye. I was like, yes, I do. However, we have to also honor how human we are and honor our human feelings and accept that sometimes we feel disappointed. Sometimes we feel upset. Sometimes we feel angry. Sometimes we feel things because we are human and we feel and we have emotions. So toxic positivity is really when we brush over them things or try not to acknowledge them for what they are and don't really honor ourselves as humans and allow ourselves to feel the way that we feel because we feel and we're human. And when we don't honor and allow ourselves to feel human and the way that we are and allow us to be who we are, which is human, it can end up having a really negative impact because we're not actually allowing ourselves to really move through these emotions. What we're doing is we're trying to discard them and not acknowledge them, which can then leave us feeling guilty. Right, can leave us feeling guilty, which can then actually lead us in this spiral because we feel bad that we feel bad. Then we feel guilty that we don't want to feel bad. But then because we can't help but feel bad because some situations happen that's pissed us off or made us upset, has left us feeling upset because we're human, right? And when we kind of try and brush over that and not acknowledge it, we end up in this kind of spiral of even worse negativity because we're not actually just honoring and accepting that we're human. Right? So I just want to urge you, like, when you feel things, allow yourself to feel things. And you might be wondering now, like, where does NLP come into this? Like, how does neuro-linguistic programming and toxic positivity kind of come into this situation? So one of the things that I spoke to Breathe magazine about actually recently was about how we can kind of accept our humanness and allow ourselves to feel human in the moments that we feel human and feel into our emotions and move through them. The problem comes when we find it harder to move through them. So we honor and accept the way we feel because we're human. But then, so let's say, for example, you know, light-hearted example, but was really upsetting at the time, the holiday that I booked to Scotland, I got there, realised that I didn't book the hot tub, was really upset. If I'd have just tried to discard that feeling, I would have then felt guilty for feeling like that. Then it may have lasted for even longer. So it could have lasted for the full holiday if I hadn't have just honoured it, accepted it, sat with it for an hour or two, a couple of hours maybe. It's about 6 hours. It was that night, yeah. So if I hadn't have then allowed myself to move through that, then it could have lasted for the full holiday and it could have got even worse because then I would have felt guilty for feeling like that. So instead, what I did was I honoured and accepted the way that I felt, allowed myself to feel bad or upset and angry. I felt all the feels. I was like angry, upset, frustrated, annoyed with myself. I felt guilty because then I'd told the kids that we had it and we didn't. And then I felt a bit guilty for feeling guilty, but then I just allowed myself to acknowledge and accept how I felt. And then the next day I was fine. But if I hadn't have honoured and accepted it, the next day I still wouldn't have been fine and I would just still be annoyed with myself and with the situation. So we have to allow ourselves to move through it. If at the point where you're moving through it, you are finding it more challenging to move through the emotions that you're going through and allowing yourself to be human, then we can kind of add in some neuro-linguistic programming to really help ourselves move through this by asking ourselves more resourceful questions and asking ourselves more resourceful kind of questions that help us to create new internal representations and give new meaning to the situation that we're in. A really great question that we can ask ourselves is, what can I learn from this situation that is personal, positive, and about my future? Like, we all experience things in our lives that we're not satisfied with, or that upset us, or that piss us off, or that leave us feeling negative or angry or upset or frustrated. It is normal for us to feel these feels. The difference is where when we allow ourselves to move through it, if we are struggling to then move through it, then what we can do is we can pull in some tools and resources using neuro-linguistic programming to ask ourselves more resourceful questions to get the outcomes that we want. Melanie says, hi Becky, love this, holding space to allow and honour emotions. We can be fearful of those hurt feelings instead of embracing them and the power that lies within them. Thank you. Yeah, completely. Okay, so yeah, that's really what I wanted to share with you today. The what toxic positivity is, so what to watch out for. Just be mindful of the language that you're using when you're speaking to other people. And as society, we're naturally programmed to say things like, oh, it'll all be okay, you know, things will work out. And, you know, we're only trying to help, but it's not always helpful to do that. You know, sometimes we have to just give ourselves and the person we're having a conversation with the time and space to honour them feelings, you know, acknowledging them and letting them speak. So rather than trying to brush over them and saying it'll all be okay, say things like, I understand, do you need to talk? Is there anything I can do to help? You know, we all feel things, you know, actually just allow them and honour them and give them space to speak. Okay, and then when we need to help to move through it, pulling in some NLP practitioner and neuro-linguistic programming tools and techniques, asking ourselves more resourceful questions such as, what can I learn from this which is personal, positive and about my future, will really help. So that's it from me today. I know it was unusually early from me. I'm delivering live master practitioner training all of this week, so I'm busy at 1:30. I am running a free training next week. If you're on Instagram with me, you can find the link in my profile. And if you're on Facebook with me, I've put the link in the description for this video. It's a free training next week. I'm super excited for it. Why the best coaches use neuro-linguistic programming and what you need to know to be one of them. So I'm going to be diving into the power of using NLP in coaching, how you can use it to support yourself, to coach yourself, and also how you can use it within coaching sessions to support your clients as well. Okay, have an amazing day and hopefully I'll see you on the training next week.